If you want to know exactly how wealthy, self-sufficient families right here in Michigan are preparing to profit from the massive federal updates hitting this summer, you need to pay attention to these three changes. The first one would be Michigan zoning reform. The second is Michigan Land Division Act changes. And three, the arrival of the Trump account. Because while everyday property owners are completely blind to these strategies, the top 1% of wealth owners are quietly aligning the brand new federal Trump accounts with an historic sweeping change to Michigan land laws. They're doing this to build massive family compounds, bypass the commercial banking lenders entirely, and they're insulating their assets and their families for the next 50 years. But here is the secret deal they do not want you to know. You do not need a multi-million-dollar net worth to pull off the exact same playbook of the wealthy. You just need a piece of Michigan dirt, a couple $100 a month, and a true family willingness to actually work together to beat this rigged housing market. But first, let's look at the cold, hard math of what our kids, my kids, will be up against one day. 25 years ago, back in the year 2001, I should have been buying real estate, but I wasn't old enough. The median home price here in the state of Michigan was roughly $115,000. And today in 2026, despite enduring massive market crashes, historic inflation, and wild interest rate swings, median home value has climbed for a starter home to over $263,000. Now look forward 25 years from today. Your 2-year-old grandchild or child will be turning 27 years old and wants to buy their very first home. If Michigan real estate continues on the exact same historical conservative appreciation curve, a basic entry-level house in our state will cost over $600,000. And yes, I know that's nuts, but if you're a millennial parent watching this right now, I want you to actually think back to the absolute hell that you may have went through trying to put a roof over your own head when you're trying to buy your first home. Remember the sheer frustration of the 2021 housing market? Remember submitting 15 different offers and getting laughed out of the room because you were using an FHA loan and your realtor told you that was about damn near impossible to ever win with? Or how about remember the panic of scraping together your bank statements, realizing that you were actually short on cash because of a bad appraisal or an appraisal guarantee, and you had to beg the seller to cover some closing costs? Or think about the awkward Sunday dinners you may have had to sit through because you had to ask your parents for $5,000 or $10,000 in a gift fund letter just so you could cross the finish line and get to closing. Or maybe you got trapped into the state down payment assistance grant that felt like free money at the actual table, but turned out to be a quiet second mortgage hanging over your head that you still to this day probably still don't understand. And if you struggled that badly back then, how do you expect your kids to survive a $600,000 housing market sometime tomorrow? Wouldn't have been, and I know this answer, changed your life if you had an extra $70,000 to $100,000 waiting for you in a protected account one day when you finally got started looking for a home? I know that would have. So today we're actually going to break down a cooperative family rescue mission so your kids actually never have to grow up and hopefully ever experience that kind of trauma. Let's look at the first tool, which officially opens for private family funding on the 4th of July in 2026. Trump accounts. Established under the Working Families Tax Cut, this is not a standard 529 college savings plan. 529 plan is a financial trap that forces your children's capital into a corporate university system that often works directly against probably your ever-changing values against higher education. A Trump account is a completely different account. Think of it like a specialized tax-free piggy bank that the IRS legally cannot touch. If you have a child or grandchild born between 2025 and 2028, the government will automatically seed that account with a free $1,000 pilot contribution the moment you check the box on your IRS form 4547 through your online portal. Now, if you are a millennial parent drowning in daycare bills, car payments, and the high grocery inflation, please just do not panic. The strategy does not require you to write a massive check. Your only job is to sign the free form 4547 and claim that free government money if you have a qualified child. The rest is going to be a team effort. Grandparents, you don't have to be rich either. Instead of buying piles of cheap plastic junk for their birthdays and holidays, family members can pool their resources and chip in $50 a week, a month, or at the birthday party into the child's Trump account piggy bank. Here is just the simple math. If a family chips in to maximize that account at the max $5,000 a year from age 2 until age 18, the total principal deposited is $80,000. But because the IRS can't touch it, and assuming a standard historical 10% stock market return, that account will cross $165,000 by the day the child turns 18 years old. And by the time they actually reach 25, it transforms into a compounding powerhouse, hopefully holding over more than $320,000. And what can that money actually be used for? When your child turns 18, the Trump account officially carries all the tax advantages of an IRA. The law explicitly allows them to withdraw funds tax-free to use directly for a first-time home purchase. We aren't leaving that wealth on Wall Street anymore. We're going to talk about anchoring that into some physical Michigan dirt next. Now here's a story of the 30-acre family compound. So while the media is obsessed and distracted by political theater, Michigan is rolling out massive property updates. First, the Land Division Act via Public Act 58 just went into effect, altering how we can actually split country acreage. Second, a sweeping housing density reform via House Bill 5584 is moving across state lines and designed to allow duplexes by right on residential lots, bypassing any restrictive local township bans. You combine those two laws, the traditional family compound, it's completely changing. Imagine your family is looking at a 30-acre country parent parcel. Historically, the old state limits would only let you cut that land into a maximum of about 4 parcels before burying you in some bureaucratic paperwork and a bunch of legal fees. Under the new Public Act 58 rules, you can execute clean, exempt splits to divide that tract for the whole family without all of that red tape. What used to be only allowing 4 or 5 splits available on a parent parcel are now allowing 10 splits on 10 acres, opening this option up to a lot of developers and, more importantly, family compound builders. Think about the massive crisis facing families right now. Gen X parents are dealing with aging boomer parents. Instead of writing horrifying $10,000 a month checks every single month to a corporate assisted living facility, which ultimately just drains the family inheritance, you can now use the new density laws to build a beautiful, accessible duplex or small little home right on one of your land splits. And one side becomes a step-free suite for the grandparents so they can age with dignity and stay close to the family. But what about your kids coming home from college? Nobody wants their 24-year-old living in their old childhood bedroom forever. You use the other side of the duplex as a starter unit for them. A little bit of immediate privacy and some independence while keeping the family unit all together. You can even use additional splits to build rental units, using the cash flow to pay for the property taxes for the entire 30 acres, and also splitting this up to sell them off their additional pieces of land. This is the ultimate wealth preservation strategy of the future. True security isn't about passing down a volatile stock portfolio or some paper money that's going to lose value to inflation every day. It's about locking down an independent family ecosystem. By placing this 30-acre compound into a properly structured family land trust, you ensure that the land can never be chopped up and sold off to outside corporate developers. Guys, your 2-year-old grandchild today gets to grow up on this land. They watch how the family operates, they stay close to their roots, and they grow up with a real, literal baseline of security. When they turn 18 or 25, they don't have to go look at $600,000 starter homes in some kind of crazy housing market with all of that dread. They now have a matured Trump account sitting there, tax-free, ready to be deployed. And they have a designated slice of pizza or slice of the land waiting for them on the family acreage. They can pull those funds out to build their own home right next to the rest of the family, bypassing commercial loan officers and high bank interest rates completely. You are sharing the burden of childcare, sharing the burden of elder care, and building a physical and financial fortress around the rest of your lineage. Guys, real self-sufficiency is not just about growing your own food or setting up a bunch of solar panels. True independent freedom is about deep financial, legal, and spatial architecture. Do not let your grandkids run out into a $600,000 starter home market 25 years from today and leaving them completely defenseless with nothing saved in their Trump account. Take this blueprint that we have laid out for you. It's not going to work for everybody. Coordinate directly with a licensed Michigan asset protection attorney to establish the legal trust framework and capitalize on Public Act 58 and the new zoning flexibilities while the windows for these opportunities are wide open. And submit your Form 4547 to jumpstart those Trump accounts this summer and anchor your family legacy permanently on a big tract of soil. If you want to know exactly how to track down true historical parent parcels in your county that qualify for these extended and expanded land split loopholes, reach out to our team right here at the Mitten Grip. See you on the next one.